All right, we are going to do the story called Scavenger Hunt. So let's go to our questions, which are on page 75. Nope, 76. And take a look for what we're looking for. So, Letitia and Dwayne's grandmother lives in the country, died 3 months ago, left them a farm in her will, or helped start a homeless shelter. So here we are wanting to learn something about their grandmother. We want to know a fact. Letitia and Dwayne moved to the city because their mother found a better job there. Their mother inherited a house there. The family needed the money, or all of the above. All right, so they moved to the city. Why? Behind the clock, Letitia's mother found a note from her mother, a letter for Letitia and Dwayne, an old photograph, or none of the above. I'm going to highlight behind the clock. We want to know what was found behind the clock. Ricardo is a police officer, a gardener, a social worker, a pizza delivery person. Who is Ricardo? Letitia and Dwayne go to 7th Street in Rockford to look for a man in blue, to look for something old, to look for someone playing, or all of the above. I'm going to highlight the streets, 7th Street and Rockford. Why? Number 6, the name of the acting teacher is Janet Robertson, Mr. Corelli, Maria Rodriguez, or none of the above. I'm going to highlight name and teacher. The theater lobby is full of people, noisy and scary, dark and dusty, clean and bright. I'm going to put how here. How is the theater lobby? The last letter from Grandma says that she also helped start a homeless shelter, that she wants Letitia and Dwayne to take care of her garden, that Letitia and Dwayne should believe that life in the city can be good. None of the above. I'm going to highlight last letter says, and then we're going to say it says what? When they are walking home, Letitia thinks the city streets aren't as bad as she thought earlier, sees Ricardo again, is scared of all the strangers, or is bothered by the noise and trash. So I'm going to circle Letitia and put how does she feel? Because all of these answers, except for one, talks about her feelings. She thinks they're not bad, she's scared, she's bothered, sees Ricardo isn't a feeling. We can kind of assume that it's probably going to be a feeling. It could still be this one. We don't know. We haven't read yet, but my gut's saying it's something about how she feels. At the end of the story, Letitia says that her mother has been working hard, thinks that the city feels more like home, sees that her mother is taking a nap. So we're looking for at the end of the story. And then I'm going to circle Letitia. Because then we have says, thinks, sees, or all. So it's not really it could be a feeling, it could be something that she notices. We'll find out. So now that we've read all of the questions, let's go ahead and get our story. We're going to read section 1 to find out the secret hidden behind the clock. I want to go home, said Dwayne. I want to go home now. Letitia looked at her brother. He sat on the steps in front of their grandmother's house. The house had been empty for a while. There was trash and some broken bottles at the bottom of the steps. Letitia looked down the street. She saw one row house after another. She hated the traffic and noise. I want to go home too, but you know we can't, she told Dwayne. So here we can kind of see that they don't like grandmother's house. I want to go home, hated the noise. They're not a fan. Dwayne looked like he was ready to start crying. I liked Maine, he said. I liked seeing the hills on the way to school. I liked the trees. There are no trees here. It's dirty and scary. So more reasons they don't like it. It's dirty, it's scary. There's no trees. Letitia sighed. When their parents got divorced, things were hard. Then when her grandmother died 3 months ago, things got even harder. You know why we moved here, said Letitia. Mom inherited this house. She found a better job here. We needed the money. Her brother put his chin in his hands and wouldn't look at her. So here, I'm going to highlight everything Letitia just said. You know why we moved here. Mom inherited this house. She found a better job here. We needed the money. So here are some positives. And here we can say are the negatives. Kids, Mom called from inside. Come here. I found something for you. Letitia and Dwayne went inside. The dusty hallway opened into the living room, where their mother was cleaning. Look at this, she said, holding out an envelope. It was hidden behind the clock. It's got your names on it. It's in Grandma's handwriting. So we see that there's an envelope with your names. So those names would be Letitia and Dwayne. So I'm going to put L and D. Letitia opened the letter. It says, Dear Letitia and Dwayne, call this number, 554-2559. After you eat, get ready for another treat. Love, Grandma. So here we can say we have a clue, because we know our story is called Scavenger Hunt. Mom looked at the note. She must have written this before she died. Let's call the number. It turned out to be a pizza place. Well, we might as well order lunch, said Mom. We'd like a large extra cheese and mushrooms, she said into the phone. So the first clue was to a pizza place. A half hour later, there was a knock at the door. Letitia ran to open it. A friendly-looking boy stood on the steps, holding a big, flat box. Hi, Letitia, he said. I'm Ricardo. I'm going to highlight that, because I know that was one of our questions, I believe, is about a Ricardo. How did you know my name? Letitia asked, shocked. Mom and Dwayne came to the door to listen. Ricardo handed the box to Mom, then he took an envelope out of his pocket. I've been waiting for you to call, he answered. Your grandmother asked me to deliver this, along with your first pizza. Have a good lunch, he said, smiling. Then he turned and ran down the steps before Letitia could ask anything else. So, again, he took an envelope. So here's going to be another clue in the scavenger hunt. And he has this because their grandmother asked him to deliver this. They sat down to eat. The pizza was delicious. After Letitia had taken a bite, she handed the envelope to Dwayne. He opened it and read out loud. Dear Letitia and Dwayne, isn't this the best pizza in the whole world? After you finish eating, go to the corner of Rockford and 7th. Find a man in blue who will show you something brand new. Love, Grandma. So here is scavenger hunt clue number 2. They're going to those streets that I believe we highlighted earlier, Rockford and 7th, looking for a man in blue. So, that's the end of section 1. Let's go back and figure out which questions we can answer after reading this first section. We can answer question number 1. We've learned a fact about Grandma. We can answer number 2. We know why Letitia and Dwayne are there. We can answer number 3. We know what's behind the clock. We can answer number 4. We know who Ricardo is. Now let's go on to section 2. Find out what Letitia and Dwayne discover on 7th Street. Dwayne kept close to Letitia as they walked down the street. He's scared, thought Letitia. She was scared too. She cringed as one stranger after another rushed past her. Then she saw the street sign that said Rockford. There it is, she said to Dwayne. Now look for a police officer. That would be a man in blue. Police officer, man in blue. They walked a little way down 7th Street, and suddenly Dwayne shouted, "There he is," over the noise of the traffic. But by the time they got up to the officer, Dwayne was hiding behind his big sister. He's shy. "Excuse me," she said in a loud voice. The officer looked down at her. "My name is Letitia," she started, but the officer didn't need to hear more. "You must be Mrs. Robinson's grandkids," he said. "I'm Officer Corelli. I've been wondering when you would show up. Come with me." All right, so we have Officer Corelli. The officer started walking down 7th Street. Dwayne and Letitia followed. He stopped when he got to an empty lot. "Here it is," he said. "This is a community garden. Your grandmother helped start this place last year." So he took them to the garden. Letitia and Dwayne looked at the lot. It was filled with small gardens full of vegetables and sunflowers. There was one plot full of weeds. "That was your grandmother's garden," Officer Corelli said, pointing. "No one's been taking care of it since she got sick." "Oh, here," he added, taking a crumpled envelope from his pocket. "I've been carrying this around for a while." He waved and left. All right, so we have another envelope for another clue. And this is sad. No one's been taking care of her garden. "Dear Letitia and Dwayne," the note said, "do you like this garden? It was a great addition to the neighborhood. I hope you'll find some new plants in my plot. Please take care of them for me. Now go to the corner of 6th and Delano. You'll find another friend playing there. Love, Grandma." So here's clue number 3. And they're going to 6th Street and Delano. Dwayne said, "I don't see anyone playing here." Letitia looked at all 4 corners of the noisy intersection. "Look over there," she said. "That looks like a theater." Dwayne looked at Letitia, puzzled. "Playing, like in a play," she told him. As they crossed the street, a car honked at them, and Dwayne nearly fell over. They ran to the theater and opened the door. It creaked eerily. The theater lobby was dark, dusty, and empty, but they heard voices from behind 2 big doors. Okay, so Letitia found out that it was playing like in a play, not like playing with a ball or playing outside. And we have, again, this theater is dark and dusty and empty. These are kind of things that would make somebody a little nervous to be there. Quietly, Letitia opened a door. A tall woman with gray hair was on the stage, along with a group of kids of different ages. She turned as the door opened. "Hello," she said. "Come on in." Letitia and Dwayne walked up to the stage. "I'm Maria Rodriguez," she said. "Are you here to join our acting class?" So I'm going to highlight the name. We've just met Maria Rodriguez, and I'm going to highlight acting class because it seems like she might be the teacher. "I don't think," said Letitia, but Dwayne yelled, "Yes!" He loved being in plays. "Come on up to the stage then," said Maria. Letitia and Dwayne scrambled up. "Right now we are pretending the floor is soft, like a mattress." Dwayne immediately started walking as if his legs were wobbling on a soft surface. "Wow," said Maria, "you're good." She looked at Letitia. "You try it too," she said. Soon all the kids were staggering around, bumping into each other, and laughing. And that's the end of section 2. But I'm going to circle this word laughing and put a little smiley face here, because we know at the beginning of the story both Dwayne and Letitia were not very happy about this move, but it seems that they're starting to feel a little bit better. So what questions can we answer in section 2? Well, we can answer number 5, because we know what happens on 7th Street in Rockford. We can answer number 6, because we know the name of the acting teacher. We can answer number 7, because we know what the theater lobby is like. And then that would be all we can answer right now. Let's read our last section. Find out why Grandma wrote the letters. Why? Letitia and Dwayne both met kids who would be in their new school. At the end of the practice, when the other students were leaving, Maria said, "You two didn't tell me your names." Then she smiled broadly when Letitia answered. "Janet Robinson was one of my best friends," she said softly. "She helped me raise the money to start this children's theater group. We still need to do a lot of work on the building, but we are already putting on plays." Maria walked backstage and came back with an envelope. "Your grandmother wanted me to give you this letter." All right, we have another envelope and then important information. We know that Grandma's name is Janet Robinson. She was one of her best friends. helped her raise the money to start the children's theater group. After Letitia and Dwayne left the theater, they stood outside. "You open it," said Dwayne. Letitia tore open the envelope. The note inside said this: "Dear Letitia and Dwayne, when I found out I was sick, I thought about how you two would probably end up living here in the city. I knew it would be a hard change for you. Sometimes it can be scary here, but I have always loved living in this place. There are many good people in this city, and lots of interesting things to do. I hope you have found a few good things today through my letters. Take care of each other, have fun here, and believe that life in the city can be good. Love, Grandma." So what was Grandma's main purpose in writing these letters? She wanted them to love the city. When Letitia and Dwayne walked back toward the house, Letitia didn't feel as scared as she had before. There was still trash on the streets. There was still honking horns and people rushing by. But it just didn't seem as bad as it had earlier in the day. I'm going to highlight, it just didn't seem as bad. And I'm going to put right here, change of heart. "Mom, we're back," yelled Dwayne as they walked in the kitchen door. They both stopped and looked around. The floor had been washed and the dishes from lunch were all clean. The room looked big and bright. Letitia saw that Mom was taking a nap in the next room. "Wow," said Letitia, "Mom has been working hard. This place is starting to look more like home." Letitia thought about her grandmother's scavenger hunt and smiled. "This place is starting to feel like home," she answered. Aw, that's such a happy ending. Now we can answer the rest of the questions. We can answer number 8, what the last letter said. We can answer number 9, about how Letitia feels. And we can answer number 10, about what Letitia sees at the end of the story, or knows about the end of the story. Go ahead and submit your answers on Kid'em.